SmackDown took place tonight in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This was the final 3-hour SmackDown. I repeat, the final 3-hour SmackDown. Thank the heavens. Hopefully this is the last one, and I'm sure they'll do ones on occasion. Maybe next year during WrestleMania season it'll be 3 hours again. I hope not, but mercifully, it is over. I sound like Jim Ross at the end of the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell match. Thank God it's over. That's how I feel. Anyway, the show started off with several wrestlers arriving at the show, and it's worth noting that CM Punk was getting booed. I saw this on social media at events before the show. I guess they're so upset about that blood-covered dick tweet he sent to The Miz. He told The Miz to suck a blood-covered dick in Saudi Arabia several years ago, and then there was a thing where he didn't sign a fan. There was a kid who went up to him, he didn't sign. I don't know if that was even his decision. I can't get mad at him for that, but that's why some of the fans were upset with him. But however, on the show when he came out, he was heavily cheered, so we'll get to that later. We started the show off tonight with Cody Rhodes. He got a big pop. And we have a really cool stage setup. It'll be the same one we see tomorrow night. And it's easily the best stage setup since WrestleMania. I mean, WWE doesn't do stages except for WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the only show that gets a stage. So it's probably the best one I've seen since that. Before Cody can talk, Randy Orton interrupts him. And fans are singing voices. And right as Randy is talking, the feed goes out. It's cut. And then we're stuck on commercial. And we literally lose 30 minutes of the show. It was insane. We lost 30 minutes of this whole show. And I'm thinking, I'm watching the replay, and it still hasn't adjusted, and the show isn't over yet. That's where I was at. So I'm thinking, what's going on? I had to fast forward. Finally, 30 minutes later, it is back. Michael Cole apologizes for the delay. He was with Wade Barrett on commentary, by the way. And then we go to Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo backstage. Jimmy Uso's out next, and then Jimmy Uso takes on JC Mateo. JC won like it was nothing. I feel for Big Jim right now. Solo asks Jimmy to join him. He offers a hug, but Jimmy slaps Solo, and then both JC and Solo beat up Jimmy. Jacob comes out, makes a save. He takes out JC, and then Solo leaves the ring. Jimmy and Jacob then embrace, and then Solo was going to go hit Jacob, but then Jimmy took out Solo with a super kick. DIY's backstage with the Motor City Machine Guns for Axiom and Los Garza. They rant about the tag team division and how the Wyatts can't win. Nick Aldis brings in Andrade and tells them to choose a tag team partner against DIY. Julia, we went to a video promo. Julia had a video promo on Zelina Vega, and then we get Zelina Vega cutting a promo on Julia, both in the same video. Then we get Zelina Vega versus Julia for the Women's U.S. title. Zelina was wearing some, I think she really wanted to look Middle Eastern, and she actually got you to think she was from the Middle East with her style. And then Julia, I don't know what she's wearing exactly. It looked like some superhero costume, some anime gear. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Zelina did a moonsault on the outside. They made it like Zelina hurt her knee. Fans are really behind Julia. They're really into Julia here. That's a good sign. I'm not sure Saudi Arabia is always predictive, but I'm glad that the fans are getting into her. Julia survives a code red by getting her feet on the ropes, and then Julia hit the Northern Lights bomb onto Zelina Vega for the win. And Julia is your new Women's United States Champion. So they officially announced on commentary that SmackDown is now 2 hours starting next week. The show's in Pittsburgh on July 4th. I'm sure that show will probably be taped, but next week SmackDown is 2 hours. And next week, we're going to have 2 shows in Pittsburgh, both Raw and SmackDown. Backstage, they show Charlotte and Alexa. They show highlights from last week of what happened. And then backstage, we see Charlotte Flair walking up to Alexa Bliss. And Charlotte tells Alexa she doesn't want to be her friend. Alexa tells her to think about it. I'm thinking, I hope this wasn't live, because the whole storyline was they're just trying to progress the storyline. Hopefully we get Charlotte and Alexa at Evolution. I hope that's the match. And I'd like to see that, and hopefully Alexa can beat her. I still don't think Alexa's ever beaten Charlotte. But what I was thinking is, I hope this isn't live. I really hope They didn't make Alexa Bliss, who's a mother, be away from her daughter, flying all the way to Saudi Arabia to do like a minute-long segment with Charlotte Flair. And I hope Charlotte didn't have to fly either. I mean, I really hope this was just recorded last week. I believe they were in Michigan, Grand Rapids last week. I wish they would have just had them record that last week and they didn't actually have to go to Saudi Arabia, fly all the way there to do like this minute-long segment. I really hope that. By the way, the fans really liked Alexa Bliss. They didn't like Charlotte Flair. No surprise. So, not much different. Wade Barrett's in the ring to interview Jade and Asuka. Promo wasn't very long. Fans were way more into Asuka. They booed Jade a bit. That was surprising. I saw some scatter. I don't know if Saudis are necessarily racist, but, I mean, they didn't like Bianca. Remember that a couple of years ago. They really didn't like her. And that was when Bianca was still very popular. It's not like earlier this year when her character got stale, but they really didn't like Jade. They didn't like Naomi, but no one likes Naomi. She's a heel. You're supposed to hate her, but they especially told, I think they told Naomi to shut the fuck up, which is a bit of a surprise, but they didn't like Jade and Naomi a lot here. They really loved Asuka, and everyone, hey, how can you not like Asuka? But anyway, they ripped into Naomi, and then she says they want to make you think she's cashing in tonight. And right when I saw it, I thought, all right, she's probably not going to do it. And I knew there would be something in the match, but she probably isn't going to cash in. Another thing that popped into my head was, okay, Julia already won the women's U.S. title tonight. Do they want to do 2 title changes on the same show? That's just rare for a SmackDown show or a Raw show to do 2 title changes on the same show. They usually don't do that, so I thought she's probably not going to cash in on Tiffy, and that didn't happen. So Jade got taken out by Naomi with the briefcase, and then Asuka retreated. So Asuka's going to win. Sorry, Jade's going to beat Asuka. I apologize. And then probably Naomi will eventually cash in on Tiffany. Then I can see Jade facing Naomi at SummerSlam. I think that's where we're going. Nick Aldis talks Adam Pearce backstage, so both GMs were there. Truth says he wants John Cena when he walks up to them, and they were talking to Aleister Black, and Truth once again messes with Aleister, and you can see Aleister's pissed off, so the feud is happening. DIY is out next, and you had Andrade out, and his partner was Rey Fenix. Good. It's been a few weeks since we've seen Rey Fenix on TV. Happy to see him back. Then we get a good tag match with DIY against Andrade and Fenix. Andrade and Fenix get the win, no surprise, and this was a good showcase for them. R-Truth's out next, gets a big pop. He does the what's up. He cuts a promo on John Cena, but then quickly Aleister Black appears behind him, and he takes him out with a black mass. And Aleister Black does his sit down next to Truth after taking him out. I've heard reports that Black is set for a big push. Hopefully that's true. I really like his work, and hopefully he finally gets his big push on the main roster. Byron Saxon interviewed the Street Profits about defending their belts against the Wyatt Six. Then we see B-Fab, who's there for some reason. I don't know why they made her fly out. She's talking to the Street Profits. Okay, I saw a thing where Montez Ford is with his wife Bianca Belair in Australia. I'm thinking, oh, so they're probably not going to be on the show. On Instagram, that's where I saw it. And I guess Montez made the trip to Saudi, but Bianca, I hope she didn't go. I mean, they were nice to her last time, anyways. Who would want to go to Saudi? Anyway, they had the Street Profits out next, and he had Damian Priest backstage confronting Aleister Black over attacking R-Truth. So that's probably going to be a feud soon. I think that'd be a cool feud. Carmelo Hayes talks to Damian Priest, who just tells him to leave. Man, Carmelo has nothing. And sorry if my voice sounds a little off again. I feel a little bit better, but if you watch my previous 2 videos, you know I'm really under the weather still. Feel a little bit better, but sorry if my voice sounds off, and I'm gasping a lot. And I'm clearing my throat a little bit, so sorry about that. But trying to get through this. And I have to say, I am a little happy that I got to watch a show in kind of the condensed version, because I just can't take it or 3-hour SmackDown. I'm over it. We spent the first half of the year with 3-hour SmackDowns. No more. I'm so happy it's a 2-hour show again starting next week. So we get Street Profits in the Wyatt Six. This was the second title match on the show, the second of 3 title matches on the show. He had a bunch of teams interfere, causing a DQ. Wyatt Six lay everyone out, then the Street Profits take out the Wyatt Six. Street Profits do dives on the outside, and that's how it all ends. Don't know the point of this. I mean, maybe this got the time cut because of the delay. I'm not sure. We had Jacob Fatu walk into Jimmy Uso outside, and they both show respect, and I guess they're gonna, form an alliance. I mean, maybe Jimmy turns on Jacob tomorrow night. Yeah, you never know. That could happen. Nia Jax is out next, wearing her usual gear, and Tiffany's out wearing white and pink. And then we get the last woman standing match, Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax. So in the beginning, Nia Jax brought out 2 tables. Tiffany used a kendo stick. Then Nia used that. 2 chairs were thrown in the ring. I think Nia also used the steps a bit. Nia splashed Tiffy through a table. They fought up the ramp. I think Tiffy used a production box. Back in the ring, Nia hit an annihilator with a chair onto Tiffy's chest. Tiffy got up from it. Tiffy powerbombed Nia through a table. And by the way, the tables had no Slim Jim logos. So maybe Slim Jim didn't want to be in Saudi Arabia. I don't know. I think a lot of people would support Slim Jim now that they don't have it in Saudi Arabia. But there was no Slim Jim logos on the table. So after after Tiffy hit the powerbomb, Naomi makes the run, and I thought, all right, maybe they're going to switch the belt here. Tiffy stopped the cash-in. Then she used the briefcase. She didn't use the briefcase. She hit a double moonsault onto Nia and Naomi, and that takes out Naomi. And then Nia's on the apron. She tries to slam Tiffy and suplex Tiffy into 2 tables on the outside. Tiffy gets out of it. Tiffy fights her off, and then Tiffy grabs Naomi's briefcase, hits Nia over the head, and causes Nia to smash through 2 tables. And that's how the match ends. Nia doesn't get up. Tiffany Stratton retains her women's championship in the last woman standing match. And I thought it was perfect how it ended, because it started this rivalry with the briefcase with Tiffany cashing in, and it also ends with the briefcase with Tiffany using the briefcase to defeat Nia Jax, even though it was someone else's briefcase. And that's how it all ends. That's a good bookend to the feud. It's a feud that had a lot of good matches on it. To be honest, I preferred the match they had on SmackDown a few weeks ago. I thought that was actually better, but this was actually a good last woman standing match and a good way to end the feud, hopefully permanently. Tiffy defeats Nia, and a good bookend to this feud. So the announcers run down the Night of Champions card, and then John Cena's out next. He cuts the same old promo. CM Punk comes out as basic Thugonomics John Cena. Punk gets mostly cheers at first, but there was some boos. And then he rips into Cena. He mentions how he buries more people than The Undertaker. He mentions how he can't act like Batista can, but Punk stumbled on his words there. He says Cena's a bigger problem than Hulk Hogan. He did a whole bunch of stuff. He called Cena a washed-up bum. Fans at this point love Punk. They're really behind him. They're cheering crazy for Punk. And he then finishes off the promo. This also marked the 14th anniversary. Today is when when Punk first cut the pipe bomb 14 years ago today. I knew it was because last week felt a little bit early. So June 27th, 2011, a young me was coming home from school. That was my last day of school in Canada. It's a little bit longer than the U.S., but last day of school, watching Raw, wasn't paying much attention. Then I just heard Punk. Wasn't really thinking much. He was going to win this match anyway at Money in the Bank. That's all I was thinking. And then I remember hearing him say, and I've done a review on this. I think I've done a retro on this, so you can look it up if you want to see it. But I remember him talking about Brock Lesnar. No one was supposed to say Brock Lesnar's name at that time. He was in UFC. He had a really bad relationship with WWE. He was a no-no. He did not even exist. Paul Heyman, you could not mention that name. You are not allowed to acknowledge Paul Heyman. No one says Paul Heyman's name. And then he says a whole bunch of other shit. Talks about how Cena would always kiss Vince McMahon's ass. Mentioned Colt Cabana. Mentioned Ring of Honor. It was insane. So I do have fond memories of this. Obviously, this does not live up to that. This rap isn't at that level. Even Cena's pipe bomb from last week, which was great, isn't quite at that level either. But this was a good promo by Punk. Fans really liked him in Saudi Arabia. I assume tomorrow night, or maybe not tomorrow night in Saudi Arabia, tomorrow day, in the daytime for all of us watching internationally, most of us at least. I assume it'll be more of a Cena crowd. But this was a good promo by Punk. Good to get him to have the crowd on his side, and this was a good way to set up the show tomorrow night. They've done a great job building up John Cena and CM Punk. It's been easily Cena's best feud since his farewell tour. By far and away, this has been the best one. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow at Night of Champions.